And now for the Trump administration's perspective on last night's results and what they may mean for the president's agenda. With me now, the White House Director of Legislative Affairs, Marc Short. Thank you very much for being with us. So you just heard, Marc Short, what Tom Perez, the chairman of the Democratic Party, had to say, that Democrats are recruiting strong candidates everywhere, and this was a strong beginning for them. How do you see it, yesterday's results?
Well, Judy, thanks for having me on first. I think that as we look over the last year, there's no doubt the Democrats secured 2 victories last night in Democrat states, and yet Republicans have won 5 congressional seats in seats that were open seats. And so in the federal level, we've continued to add. We have 240 House Republicans now hoping to advance our agenda. And so I think that people can read a lot into each of their things that they want. And the reality is Virginia continues to shift to the left. Virginia's continued to become a more and more Democrat state. And I don't think it's a surprise that they won last night. I think Ed's a very talented and smart political advisor, but I don't think we were that surprised by the results. Yes.
Well, you're not surprised. And we noticed, of course, the president, as soon as the results were called in Virginia, the president was pretty critical of Ed Gillespie. He said he didn't embrace me enough. What more should Ed Gillespie have done?
Well, I think that we were disappointed in Ed's defeat for sure, but I think the president's making the point that the president wasn't invited to come into the state and campaign with Ed, and he feels like certainly the left was animated and rallied, and unfortunately I don't think we activated our base in the same way on the Republican side. And I think that that's simply the point the president's making. But again, we take comfort in the Republican seats we've continued to hold on to. In many cases, special elections in Georgia, people were predicting Democrats were going to take that seat from us, and they didn't. We've won seats in Kansas and Montana and last night in Utah.
I noticed today that the chair of the Republican Party, Ronna McDaniel, said that she thought Ed Gillespie did sufficiently embrace the president in the campaign.
I think that, again, I believe that Ed is one of the smartest political people I know. I think he's won a lot of races for other people. I think that, unfortunately, this is a difficult year for him to run. I think it's a state that has become more and more Democrat over the years.
What we are seeing, Marc Short, though, in Virginia and other places where there were races yesterday is energy on the part of Democrats.
Sure.
Many of them do seem to be motivated to defeat Republicans, to defeat the president. How worried are you and others in the White House about that next year in the midterms?
I think that next year is a long way off, Judy. I think the way that we can make sure that our base is animated is to ensure that we deliver on the promises we made. I think you look back to when the president was elected, there were several things he campaigned on. He campaigned on the Supreme Court, which he delivered on with Judge Gorsuch. He campaigned on regulatory relief, which he's delivered on. He campaigned on tax relief, which we're about to deliver on. I think one of our challenges right now, though, is one of those other promises was repealing Obamacare. And I think after 6 years of campaign promises that Republicans would do that, when given the chance, they didn't. And I think you saw a lot of depressed excitement among Republicans after the summer when that effort failed. So we need to get back to delivering on what we promised we would do.
Well, speaking of that, let's talk about one of the things you're trying to deliver on, and that's tax reform. It's originated, the plan, proposal is originated in the House, but it's already running into some headwinds. And then just today, you have the bipartisan joint committee, Congressional Committee on Taxation, saying that there's a problem here, that after a certain number of years, yes, it starts out helping the middle class, but after the year 2027, the percentage of people in the middle class being helped would start to go down. That gets at the very fundamental argument for this, doesn't it?
Let's keep in mind 3 things the president said he wanted in tax relief. First is middle income relief. Second is to provide corporate relief because, frankly, what's happened is our jobs have left America because our corporate tax system is outdated. We need to bring those jobs back and give corporations less reasons to invert. And third is to simplify the tax code and get rid of so much special treatment that's there and special deductions. Go back to your first point on what the Joint Committee on Taxation said. They also said it's a net tax decrease for every income level over the 10 years. Now, what you're pointing out is individually in a particular year, the way that some of those specific credits roll out, there could be a bump in a particular year. But you look over the 10 years, and it is a tax decrease for those families. It's what we promised and what we're going to deliver on.
But you still have, as I know you know very well, folks out there who've looked at the effect on corporations who are saying this is a boon to many corporations that already get so many tax breaks. And you've got the Senate, Republicans in the Senate looking at it and saying, wait a minute, we want to delay the corporate tax cuts. How do you and the White House look at that?
Well, let's keep in mind that the relief we're providing the tax rates is because the international average for developed countries is now 21%. In America, it's 35%. It's the reason so many companies have left our shores and gone overseas. In fact, it's one of the reasons we think that Trump won many of the industrial Midwest states, because that's where they've been hit the most. What we're doing, though, is eliminating many of those deductions, Judy, that you mentioned. That is the trade-off. We think that this tax code should not be for those who are the wealthiest, who are able to hire lobbyists and protect their special interests. So we're cleaning out the tax code and in exchange lowering the rates. That's the objective.
What about, though, Mark Short, this notion that the House of Representatives come up with one proposal? It's pretty clear the Senate Republicans are coming up with a fairly different proposal. Where's the White House going to come down on?
Well, Judy, we've worked for many months together. We had meetings with the Speaker and with the Leader and with the Chairman of Ways and Means, Kevin Brady, as well as with Chairman Hatch, to make sure that we were on the same page. Ultimately, there was a few things that we couldn't agree on, but I think that as you see these two plans roll out, 90% will be aligned. And so the process will work. The House will get their bill done. We think they're on schedule tomorrow to get out of committee and to get it completed in the House before Thanksgiving. The Senate will then have their turn, and the legislative process will work. We'll have a conference report to resolve the differences.
What about health care? The polls have shown that was at top of mind for many of those who went to the polls, all of those who went to the polls in Virginia. Has the White House given up on getting health care reform passed? Because it's clearly been moved to the sidelines as you've moved on to tax reform.
No, we haven't given up on that. That's a promise that we've made, and we're going to deliver on that promise. I think the reality is that the way that this will work is we will need to do it on budget reconciliation next year. So it'll likely be a 2018 exercise. I think that what we found during the Graham-Cassidy effort, as you recall, that was an idea to block grant dollars back to the states and give them more flexibility in their health care plans, is that ended up gaining more attention and attraction. But some of the senators who were initially no were concerned about the process, and they want to have a longer process play out. But I think they're more receptive to the concept. So we think that that has a lot of merit next year.
So you do think it can be resurrected?
Oh, we're determined to make sure that that we deliver on the promises of repealing what we think is crushing the American people and the healthcare system right now.
And of course, I'm asking because this is something that was originally said this is going to happen right away as soon as Donald Trump takes office as president, and here we are 9 months later.
Well, sure. As I mentioned at the start, I think we were disappointed that that was something that many Republicans had promised to do for 6 years, and they have a president now who's willing to sign it. And so we're disappointed they didn't get it done, but we're not going to stop on our efforts to try.
Mark Short, the director of the White House Office of Legislative Affairs, thank you very much.
Judy, thanks for having me.
We appreciate it.